Welcome to City Talk, where we interview city employees and try to figure out what exactly they do. Here's one right here who happened to show up just in the nick of time, Trever Stoll of the Department of Innovation and Performance. You're on the innovation team.
I am, and thanks for having me on here, John.
Thanks for being here. A team of innovators, as it were.
Yes, used to be an intern, now official full-time employee.
How about that? So where did you go to school and how did you end up being an intern here?
So I graduated from the University of Pittsburgh. I ended up as an intern here, believe it or not, through a happy hour. I was talking about Coro fellowships, looking for options after college.
And Cora is a local do-good organization, that nonprofit that does good works for community groups. Yeah.
Essentially, yes. But another city employee, actually, Andrew Hayhurst, happened to be sitting beside me. And we got to talking.
So was he eavesdropping as you were talking about what you were going to do?
Perhaps just a little bit.
So it was a nosy busybody, or nebby person, as they say, who facilitated your internship.
I suppose a little bit, but I will forgive him because it ended up working out in my favor. Through a couple conversations, we talked over, say, 2 or 3 months. Got a little bit more of my background information, and it worked out in my favor. Got an internship through him with the PMO office, project management. So.
That's great. Did you manage some projects or help manage projects?
I did. My 2 big projects were the One Stop PGH, which is essentially the city's platform for condensing all the permitting and licensing and creating a standard process, hopefully make it a little bit more efficient. And then
Right, putting stuff on computers rather than paper forms, et cetera.
Exactly. Let's keep track of everything's kind of all in one standardized form. So between that and then the tech refresh, which is the city's process for updating all of our computers from Windows 7 to Windows 10.
Updating everything so everybody has a faster ability to get stuff done.
Exactly. A little more secure, a little bit easier for people to get their work done. And again, kind of updating those processes to streamline them.
And you also work on what is called the Gold Belt team, which is a team that focuses on process improvement. You analyze what people do who work for the city. Maybe you make some suggestions about how they could do it better.
So the Gold Belt is part of the innovation team. I actually went through my Gold Belt while I was an intern. We created and standardized a process. You'll notice I use those words a lot. A form of back-checking city computers to verify where the location are and what department. And through kind of the optimization of that work, how we physically go out and verify was able to save us around $3,000, got us about 3 months ahead of schedule. So it must have worked in my favor.
Every time you do something faster, it saves a little bit of money, obviously.
Just a little bit, yeah. You have time saved, and then as well as the physical work that's being done. So it's kind of twofold.
Now, was it your goal from the beginning of your internship to end up, as you did, landing a job with the city? Or did that just evolve over time?
It kind of evolved over time. So at the University of Pittsburgh, I graduated with environmental science. I'd like to think of myself as an environmentally conscious guy. So
you do recycle?
I do recycle.
Now, do you use the little grocery store blue bags, or do you have the big giant blue bin?
I don't. I have the big blue bin.
Good, that's what you're supposed to have, right?
You don't actually need the bags.
And people don't know that yet.
They don't.
Have you noticed that?
I did, actually. Yeah, they get stuck in the machine or something like that.
Yes, they don't like that. Yeah, they don't like the blue bags, and yet everybody thinks they're doing the city a favor by using the blue bags.
At least they're trying.
Yes, but at any rate, I interrupted you. Please, go ahead.
So, graduate with environmental science. Thought I'd do something a little bit more environmentally focused. I suppose in a sense I am. I'm just working on the city environment, bringing innovation to us. So it kind of evolved throughout the process, learning a little bit more about the city. The way I had digested information prior, I wouldn't consider myself very involved in city workings, but through my internship, met a lot of great people, saw the great work that was being done, and decided this is something I wanted to become a part of. So.
And you've gotten down to the nitty-gritty where you analyze a lot of numbers. Tell us about that, because I've just looked over your shoulder and seen a million charts and graphs and wondered, what on earth is he doing over there?
So a lot of that was from the tech refresh. Again, keeping track of computers, how much devices are going to cost us, how many we need, where they're located. So it's
when do you get rid of the old ones and bring in the new ones?
Exactly. It's a lot of Excel work. I will, in my new role, still be doing some Excel work, but we're shifting a little bit more towards communication, as well as PGH Labs, if you're familiar with that.
Tell us about PGH Labs. That's the city effort to help startups succeed.
Yes, so it's the process in which the city partners with local startups, as well as bringing in some of our third-party vendors, PWSA, parking authority, things like that, in order to help bring innovative ideas through oftentimes university work or, again, new startups to help us kind of innovate some of old problems, bring up some new solutions.
So the city really does work with a lot of other entities in town.
We do. We really try to. Since we are working for the people, try and bring everyone to the table. More minds, more ideas is kind of the way I think about it.
Where are you from originally?
Ohio.
Okay, so...
I left my flat plains for the mountains.
Are you surprised that there are so many people who are actually dedicated and hardworking and not sitting around with their feet up on the table?
I suppose. It's nice to see how much people care. I know the stereotype is generally slow government worker or something like that, but to see all the work that really does go in behind the scenes was really eye-opening for me. There's a lot of moving parts that I myself, especially in my new role, am trying to get a hold of. So I've been both blown away by the amount of dedication people have, as well as the I guess I would say the level of care that they have given my own situation, how quickly they are to lend a hand out. So it's been rather nice.
And would you recommend government service to your friends and your relatives for that?
I would actually. I founded a fraternity while in college, and I've been steadily releasing internship opportunities
Have
to them.
you?
So yes.
So you're the man if you want an internship in city government.
We're trying, create a pipeline to the university, so get some of that talent.
All right, well look, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, John.
Nice to get to know you, Trever Stoll. We'll be back in a moment.
Television, the baby of the radio family, is creating openings for experienced engineers, most of whom are graduating from radio work. For regularly scheduled programs, the production department has a multitude of duties to perform, primarily concerned with planning and preparing the programs to go on the air. From the scene of action, cameramen televise events which you may see in your own home, if, of course, you have a television receiver. Control men skillfully operate the apparatus which mixes sound effects, music, and dialogue. Many programs are broadcast over networks, and lines are employed to connect the studio with the various stations. Lines which have been set up in advance are connected to feed the program to the network stations. The maintenance of radio broadcasting equipment employs a large number of workers known as technicians. It is their job to see that the apparatus is kept in perfect working order. Television is opening up a new field, as does any new development. Specialized training, study, and hard work are necessary in all phases of broadcasting.
Interviewed dozens of city employees over the last couple of years, but none more important than the man you're about to meet, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, Kevin Pawlos. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So that sounds like a massive responsibility.
Yes, it can be. Our department does a lot of different things. We deal with position control and administrative functions such as travel requests for all city employees citywide.
So every time somebody wants to go somewhere to a conference and all that, you have to decide whether you can get the money and whether it's justified?
Yes, so the request will be originated from the department, and then it comes to O&B for approval by the budget analysts. After it's finalized, they receive approval, and then they can move on.
So there's the capital budget and the operating budget. Tell folks the difference between the two and what you're responsible for.
Yeah, so our department deals with both the capital and operating budget. The operating budget takes all of the funds that we collect with revenues and permits and licenses and whatnot, and really funds each department for the day-to-day operations. So personnel, maintenance, cleaning costs, things like that. The capital budget deals with a multiple source of funds, money from the federal government, such as CDBG funds. Pay-go transfers, which is a transfer from the operating budget to the capital budget.
Community Development Block Grant?
Yes,
okay.
The Community Development Block Grant, CDBG. Transfers from the operating budget to the capital budget, which is also known as Pay-go. Any grants that deal with capital projects, federal highway projects that come from the government and PennDOT, but also general obligation bonds. So anytime we go out to issue bonds for debt to pay for, the restructure of the structuring of a a firehouse or a paving of a street. So any project that has multiple years of a lifespan.
The city is in much better financial shape than it was like a decade or more ago.
Yes, significantly. It was tough through Act 47.
That was when the state came in and put restrictions on what you could spend and how
Right.
you could spend it.
Right, so that was Act 47. We had to submit all of our quarterly reports and all of our budget documents during that time to them for approval. They really put a lot of restrictions on what we could do, but they were really best practices. So coming out of Act 47 and out from state oversight, we put those into code so that we continue to follow those to maintain, our financial stability for not only this year but years to come.
So you're the budget director working for the mayor's office, and there's another budget director, Bill Urbanek, who we've interviewed previously, who is working with the council.
That is correct.
And then eventually these budgets sort of merge in their negotiations as to what stays in and what does not.
Yeah, that's correct. So a lot of people don't know this, but there are two iterations of the budget, right? There's the mayor's office budget and then council's version of the budget. The mayor's office budget happens, the capital budget process starts in April and goes until November, and the operating budget process starts in June and goes until November. So in November, the mayor holds a public address for his release of the budget. After that, the budgets then get turned over to City Council, in which there are public hearings for each department that are televised on the City Channel so that all the residents can see. The council people, or the council members, I should say, have their own ideas for the budget, and they put the final touches on it. They vote finally on it in December, and then that is our officially adopted budget moving forward.
So that's a long and complicated process.
It is. It's a 365-day long project essentially. We're already looking at 2021, and we're only two weeks into the new year.
So were you good with numbers as a kid? How did you get into this mathematical racket?
I guess I always gravitated towards numbers. I started with the city 7 years ago as a budget analyst, so I've only worked in the Office of Management and Budget. The one thing I like about that department is that it touches all of the departments citywide, so you really get a holistic view of how the city operates and why they do what they do, and some of the driving forces behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about. But as far as numbers, yeah, it was always just something that kind of interested me. So, starting as a budget analyst, working up to a senior budget analyst, getting assigned different departments has provided a lot of value. And so we, with our department, we just try to provide educational pieces to both the residents and other departments, why we do the things we do, why we can't do some of the things we do, because the decisions that we face on a day-to-day basis are very tough. But, we have a great group of people there. I truly enjoy coming into work. Everyone, gets along. It is a true team atmosphere, and I think when you do what we do, you have to have a true team player mentality because everybody has to pull their own weight and really make everything go round.
And then if somebody is brand new on City Council, you sort of have to help educate them as to how this whole process works, because they may be a great public servant, but that doesn't mean they know anything about budgets.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, the educational piece really never stops. When there is somebody new in another department or on City Council, yeah, that is a critical function so that they understand the challenges, the true challenges. It's not just a decision. There are other factors to that decision once it's made about how things are going to play out. So our outlook on it is, the more informed people are, the more informed a council person is, the better they are suited to make a decision when the time comes.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from the Sheridan area.
Oh, so local boy.
I am local. Grew up in the Sheridan area, went to high school here, and then moved away for college to Ohio, at Youngstown State, and then migrated back.
And how did you first start to work for the city? Well, you said budget analyst, right?
Yeah, I started in 2012 as a budget analyst. Kind of just applied because it was something that caught my eye. Was assigned some of the more general departments to ease my way in, and then as I got more entrenched, you get a bigger department such as Public Works or Parks and Recreation, and so you really start to see have an idea of much bigger impact of some of those departments. So.
You must be good at your job, because this promotion to director of OMB is recent, is it not?
Yes, it happened last Labor Day. So I'm very fortunate for the opportunity that Chief Goen and the mayor have given me. But again, I mean, the people that I work with that are in the department really make it easy. They're always willing to put in extra time or do whatever it takes to get whatever needs to be done. It's not always easy, but we make do with what we can.
And would you recommend a career in government service to average human beings, or even below average human beings for that matter?
I would. I think it's awesome. I think the opportunity that you have to see the type of impact that you have on not only yourself, because you are a tax-paying resident, right, but your family and your friends and other people in the community. You see headlines in the newspaper, you hear about articles, or you hear about stories on the news, and you have a part to play in that. So I think the one thing of great value is to do what you do on a consistent basis, day in and day out, but then see how that plays out and see how what your decisions make actually benefit a vast majority of the residents of the city. So absolutely, I would recommend it to anyone.
Kevin Pawlos, Director of OMB, thank you so much for doing City Talk.
Thank you very much.
Back with another employee that you'll meet and hope you'll find interesting in a moment.
Work.
Since 1982, City Channel Pittsburgh has been your home for your government. Over the last half-decade, we've edited over 1,000 press conferences, budget forums, award ceremonies, PSAs, and interview programs. Our staff has over 6 decades of combined experience, and they televise over 150 city council meetings annually from right here in our control room. And when seemingly nothing else is going right, we can always fall back on our training from college. We are City Channel Pittsburgh, and we've got your government covered.
Welcome back to City Talk. Meet Sarah Nunley, who is with the Department of Finance. She is a real estate technician. Sarah, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So I'm sure it has something to do with money, but tell us what the Department of Finance does.
The Department of Finance for the City of Pittsburgh collects all the money. So we
So all the taxes come in and
all
it
the
goes
taxes.
to you guys.
Yeah, employment tax, amusement tax, all of the taxes, real estate tax, it all comes into the.
But you're not the one who is imposing the tax, so you're not the bad guy.
Right, I'm in the real estate division. So
Right.
if you're buying property for the City of Pittsburgh, it's coming through my hands.
And I went through an experience recently with a friend of mine who is selling her property.
Yes.
And at the county level, not the city. But
Yeah.
I learned that records in some departments and in
Mm-hmm.
some entities and some financial institutions are often not kept well. They're sloppy. Things get lost.
Oh,
You
yeah.
deal with a lot of that.
Yeah, that's a very common problem, especially with older purchases. There was a big movement where we're trying to get everything off of paper digital, and some scans get lost, and sometimes papers are physically damaged through
Oh, really? Through the
water
scanning
or-
process? Oh, I see.
Yeah, sometimes they get torn, or so it's just if you get papers, keep them.
So yeah, always keep all of your records having to
Yeah,
do with any
keep a
major
copy.
financial
Yeah.
transactions,
Oh,
including
definitely.
property.
Yeah.
So what kinds of records are you scrupulously maintaining in the property division?
Mainly deeds and property descriptions and stuff like that, and titles. Stuff.
And what other kinds of records might you have in that same file? Financial transactions involving the property?
Yeah, any hand money given to the city of Pittsburgh, any liens or anything like that, or basically anything that is with the property we
And
keep.
do you have to update them periodically in case the liens have been taken off, or is that not your responsibility? That's the property owner's responsibility?
The only time that we really look at all that is when we're getting ready to sell it, and then we have to go out and search it out and do a title request. And there's like a GLS is a big thing that they hold on to old liens, so it's get in contact with them and see if they still want their money, and those files get beefy.
So you have good news for people sometimes and bad news. If someone else hasn't updated the records and sent you a copy as they're supposed to,
Yeah, that's why it takes us so long, because there's a lot of, we have to go through everything with the fine-tooth comb. It's just a lot of making sure everything is legal and we're not forgetting anybody in the transaction.
and you might say, well, there's a lien on your property here, and they might say, well, no, I paid that off years ago, and you might say, well, nobody sent me
Yeah,
the paperwork to indicate that.
Say you had like an old water or sewage bill from, let's say 96, and you've paid it off and you have a proof that you've paid it off, but the PWSA says, no, you still owe it. If you have proof, if you kept that receipt, you can, who keeps paper trails from 96, but
apparently you should.
Please do.
Yeah.
But if you can prove that you've paid it, then we can, get that lien cleared and get it
So,
satisfied.
but you're sort of a neutral arbiter in that case. You're just telling
Yeah,
them what
my
the
job
records
is
show.
just find out if there's anything wrong and then tell you how to fix it and then I want to get these things out of the city's hands and into the purchaser's hands.
So how do you develop this kind of expertise? How did you learn about this?
I kind of fell into it. I was a administrator before, and they had
Like an office person, or
yeah,
Okay.
kind of like
office manager?
Yeah, and they had an opportunity here, and I was looking for something new, something different, and I don't know. I've been kind of flying by the seat of my pants. A lot to learn.
Really? Does anything you found the most daunting, or just the sheer quantity of it?
Just there are so many gray areas. There are so many if but thens. It's just
Can you think of an example?
oh my goodness. With like liens, a lot of the liens can be easily, I guess, cleared up, but some of them go back so far, and there's so many hands in the pot that, depending on how old it is, there's different ways that we approach getting it resolved. So it's kind of interesting.
I'm guessing whenever there's a major financial transaction, a lot of people have their hands out
Yes.
and would like to get whatever little piece they can. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
And you sort of have to play umpire and make sure fair is fair and right is right.
Oh, definitely. A lot of making sure that everything is, to the T, and nobody's getting special treatment, and every purchaser is treated equally.
So are you usually the good guy, or do some people blame you if, for example, they didn't save their records and you're unable to prove that what they say is true?
Definitely, because I'm on the front end and people are talking to me to try to get the thing. They look at me as a point person, but I have nothing to do with. I didn't write the laws. I didn't
Right.
write the regulations. So I try to provide as much information as possible and be as friendly and kind as I can.
That's mighty nice of you. How do you like your job?
I really love it.
Really?
It's really interesting.
Because one would think it might be a little tedious, even though it's important.
It is, and it's very meticulous. And I never, grew up thinking, oh, I want to be in real estate. I never
I'm going to
thought,
study tedium and
I never thought that I would be writing deeds and looking at indentures and doing all this stuff. But now that I'm in it, it's really fascinating, especially with all the laws and stuff that go with it, all the regulations. It's just kind of, who knew it could be so.
And you start investigating something and you don't know how it's going to come out.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And
You're like a paper trail detective.
Yeah, you definitely have to have think outside of the box, because sometimes where it looks like it could be like really straightforward, contacting next of kin to make sure this property can be taken over. You really kind of have to be a gumshoe. You really have to use your resources and try to figure out how are you going to find these people, and how are you going to notify them properly, and just to make sure that everybody has a fair chance.
So it sounds like you're trying to go above and beyond and to be a gumshoe. Because I suppose you could just sort of take a laissez-faire attitude, like, I don't know, that's what's in the file, ma'am, or sir.
I don't think anybody should ever do that. I think you, in order to make this world a better place, you got to do your best. And if I want somebody else to do their best, I have to do my best every day.
Sarah Nunley, thank you so much. You're a dedicated, well, let me ask you one last question. Would you recommend a career in government service and in finance and in property management?
Definitely. I would say if you're looking for an opportunity, the city of Pittsburgh is a wonderful place to come. You can start in at the ground level, and there's so many different areas for you to go. There's going to be a place for you, no matter what you're into. You could, fall in love with, the meticulous nature of real estate, or you could, find yourself working for the Department of Labor, Public Works. There's so many different opportunities here. There's some place for everybody.
They should have you as like a spokesperson or something. You're the most enthusiastic person
I
think I've
totally
met yet.
drank the Kool-Aid. I really did. I worked in the private sector, and I love the city of Pittsburgh.
And you appear to be, you have your wits about you. Nobody hypnotized you, in other words.
I think they tried, but no, I like to think that I've come to this conclusion on my own.
Sarah Nunley from the
experience.
Department of Finance, thank you so much for doing this program.
Thank you.
We will see you next time on City Talk. Have a great day.